All right, well, hey, everybody. Welcome to Highly Unlikely with Josh and Jenaye. And so glad that you're joining us for this conversation that we're going to have today. There's no Jenaye. I know, just please don't turn it off right away. We're still going to do our best without her. But this episode's actually being recorded. We're just about to start the Arena Men's Conference. And so we got some friends and some guest speakers and future friends who are all going to be on the podcast. But this one I'm excited for because this is an old friend. In fact, right. We were just talking about, do I call him Philip or call him Phil? And, you're just a certain level of friendship if you can use certain names.
That's exactly right, man.
Yeah.
Whenever you have the pass to just call me whatever you want to, you know, like there you go.
Yeah. So there's a little history here, but I'm so excited that my friend Philip Deas is here. And I think last time you were on the podcast, you guys were pastoring.
Yes, that's
at
right.
Church.
Yes.
And now you're kind of in a different lane.
That's right.
That we're going to explore together today. But before we get into it, I got to ask you a question from the Cube because I always forget when Jenaye's not here.
Okay. All right.
I'm coming through today.
Look at you, man.
I know. If you had an unlimited budget and 1 hour to shop, where would you go and what would you buy?
Ooh.
Let's just start off right on the consumerism.
Man, I love it. I would have to say, man, it would be in the golf section, man. Mm-hmm. It was no question about it. The golf gear, the golf clothing, just put me in the golf section, give me an hour. We could do some serious damage.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That would have to be it.
How often do you golf?
Not enough. Not enough. I grew up playing, so it doesn't take me much to play pretty good. So if I get out a couple times a year, I can still do it pretty good.
That's great. There is a golf simulator here today, so we should probably go try it out right after this. But
there you go.
I don't even know my answer. Right now, what I've been thinking about is I would really like to get to the Olympics. So do I have to shop in the same store? I don't know, but I would go online.
Okay.
And I would buy some Olympic tickets and some flights and take my son to watch tennis at the Olympics.
Oh, that is cool, man.
That'd be the dream.
The Olympics, yeah. And we got the World Cup coming too right now.
What is it? Like
so
the
this
World
is
Cup,
like
the Olympics,
sports. Yeah, man.
The Winter Olympics in another 6 years.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting, man.
Yeah. So I don't know if I'll make it to any of it, but at least we can say it was here. So, Phil, tell me about, because now what you're doing is you're mind and behavioral coach, right? Is that what you say?
Yeah.
Mindset?
Yeah.
And tell me about why do you start coaching and why you specifically got into the type of coaching that you're in?
Yeah, so basically it's, I kind of say it's high performance, right? Specializing in mindset, behavior optimization. And basically, what that means is that I am helping people, kind of the way that I define coaching, right, if you would, is it is just an intentional process, right, of helping people enhance their thinking and their behavior in hopes to close the gap, right, from where they are now to where they want to be. Mm-hmm. So for me, it's like I've been doing that my whole life. That's discipleship. If you really boil it down, like you coaching, like that's what I've been doing since I was 18 years old when I started preaching the gospel, man, and started discipling people. I was trying to help people change the way that they thought, change their behaviors in order for them to become who God created them to be. So now I've just kind of taken that and brought it into a corporate space, right? Helping people with their mindsets, their tool sets, their skill sets, right, for this performance and elevated performance. And that's really all it is. So it comes very natural to me because I've been doing it for 30 years of my life.
Right. Did you develop it through personal experience of like, man, here's the stuff that I had to learn and get through, or was there some other training? Like what inspired it in you to get after this?
Yeah. Well, and we've kind of talked a little bit before, but my background being sports coaching, right? I played football, coached football in college, coached at my alma mater there in Shreveport, Louisiana, Evangel Christian Academy, won a bunch of state championships as a coach and a player. So that's kind of the background. And what I really discovered through that process is I so enjoyed, more than playing, which is unusual for an athlete. Typically, athletes go into coaching because they kind of like hang on to the glory days, if you would, right? Like they only coach to tell you the stories about when they played. What I discovered is that I got so much more satisfaction out of coaching a quarterback and watching him throw a touchdown than I ever did throwing my own touchdown.
Yeah.
And that was kind of a little bit of a cue for me, like in my, early 20s of like, and this is different. Most people aren't really wired this way, and just in my experience and my observation. And so that's what really kind of, I think, really started that journey of going, man, there's something about this that is really meaningful to me. And then, kind of getting into that, into that space with the ministry, getting into that into that space, in the corporate world, is really just helping people really accomplish their dreams, become who they can be. And so for me, it's just kind of a natural outflow of really who I am and what I really, really enjoy doing.
Yeah. What's a typical like hurdle, like somebody that you would work with, they would come and say, here's where I'm trying to optimize, or here's where I'm trying to get better. I mean, is there an identifiable issue or problem, or is it just, I want to get better and just a general awareness that they need to grow? Like, does that make sense? Is it a particular hurdle, or just I want to grow and you coach, so help me grow?
Yeah. I think for me, I have a framework that I kind of take everybody through. And that framework is what I just call the transformation process. And it's believing, being, behaving, and building, right? And that's the process that we want to work through, right? Our beliefs, right? Then our being, just kind of our core attitude, how we show up into the world, and then our behavior. And out of that behavior is what we're going to build, right? And we're all trying to build something significant, right? Whether that's a family, a career, whatever it is, we want to build something to influence, impact, right? Be meaningful. And most people just jump right back to the behavior.
Yeah.
Right? And they just go, well, just tell me what to do. What do I need to do to get there? And it's like, okay, well, we can outline that and we could tell you what to do. But here's the problem, is that's only a matter of time. And you are going to, what I always say is you always shrink back to your level of belief. And so right from the beginning, I try to take all of my clients to that core principle of belief. And just to say, and all of us, we all have these limiting beliefs. I believe that everybody has a core limiting belief that all the other limiting beliefs kind of branch from, but there's that one core limiting belief. So what I try to do is to take them back there to help them identify that limiting belief. So then in all limiting beliefs, once again, it's just like it's ministry. Yeah. Because all limiting beliefs are rooted in a lie.
Yeah.
At some point, you believed a lie. You believed a lie about yourself, a lie about others, a lie about the future, your potential, what could be. You believed a lie, right? And then that lie begins to build itself, creates like a mountain in your life, and you spend all of your time going around the mountain. And some people are successful, right? They just outwork it, they outsmart, right place, right time. They just get around that mountain. But what we want to do is we want to build a truth tunnel right through that mountain. Right? Yeah. And so I help them identify what is this limiting belief, and then what is the actual truth, so we can build a truth tunnel so we don't have to keep going around the mountain, right? We can work right through that mountain. You don't ever really move the mountain. It's going to be there, but we learn how to move through it, right? And so that's really where we start, is in that space of like identifying that limiting belief, because if you don't do that, you can change somebody's behaviors. But man, if you don't get that belief, man, it just doesn't change. And I think we see this like New Year's resolutions.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like you come in what is everybody writing down, right? Like they're writing down all the things that they want to do. Yeah. I want to lose 15 pounds. I want to get back into the gym. I want to read 12 books. I want to, right? Like whatever those things are, they write them all down on the sheet of paper. And those are all actions. They are all behaviors. But man, and you can even start good, but by the time February, March rolls around, if you don't believe that you are the type of person who can read 12 books, lose 15 pounds and keep it off, be consistent in the gym. If you don't really believe that that's really possible for you, then you are not going to keep the behaviors.
You have an inner narrative that's battling the actions that you're trying to take.
Exactly. And sooner or later, something is going to happen you're going to miss a week, you're going to get sick, right? Something's going to happen, and you're going to fall back to that level of belief. And so that's where we always, really try to start. And that's just kind of something that I've created, not something I really took from anybody else. It just kind of came out of my own experience. And then just helping people my whole life over coffee and over lunches and figuring out like, oh man, like this is kind of the way that it works. And so then just kind of putting it in a structure and a framework and a formula that is, more succinct and really easily accessible for people.
What are some of the limiting beliefs? Just for the person listening, they're like, oh, I wonder if I have a limiting belief, in my own life. What are some of the ways that can come out?
Yeah, I think if they say, I'm wondering if I do, the answer is that you do, right? It's not if you do, it's that you do. And so typically they have if you're trying to find that limiting belief, so a lot of the way that I say it is you want to reverse engineer back down the framework, back down the process, right? So it's like you want to get into the behaviors and go, what behaviors show up in my life that are like suboptimal, right? They don't have to be awful. It's just like, it's not the best, right?
Or they create conflict, or they cause you to not be successful in an area that you want to be.
Right, exactly. And it could be not even like harmful. We're not talking of, harmful behavior, just like it's not the best behavior. And then you realize that behavior is coming from somewhere.
Yep.
It's coming from inside of me, right? My way of being, my attitude, my settled way of thinking and feeling about myself, others, people, potential opportunities, whatever that is. And that is coming from what I believe to be true. Right. So you just kind of reverse engineer it all the way back. So I kind of tell my clients, like, man, you want to start with what behavior shows up in your life consistently over a period of time, not like every day or every week, but it has been consistent over years, decades, maybe even, right? And then a way of being, right? Like a soundtrack, a way of thinking, right? A thought that is constantly there. And it's typically rooted in, I am not enough of something, right? Or it goes straight to the negative and I am, and then it is something bad, right? So it's either like I'm not enough of something good or I am something bad. And a lot of that is, and like I tell my clients that typically I think two things happen early on in life that kind of really cement these beliefs. Is one, you already have that belief, right? Like 4, 5, 6, 7, like you're just kind of looking around and like you already think like, I'm not smart enough. Let's just go with that one. Like, I'm just not smart enough. And then you have a third grade teacher, right? It says, why, she's mad at something else and she just pops off and just says something. She doesn't really mean anything by it, but I already had that belief. Now she has confirmed, she's the authority figure, and she has confirmed that what I believe to be true is actually true. And now it is like cemented, right? Or you're just kind of living and you don't really have that thought.
Yeah.
But your 6 and 7 year old T-ball coach or whatever, right, says something to you about you are so slow and you never pay attention. Right? Well, now I'm like, oh, I didn't even know that. But now I take that and I start looking for evidence and then I see it somewhere else. I'm like, oh man, I wasn't paying attention there. I missed that. My coach was right. I am a person that cannot pay attention, right?
Yeah.
And so we take these beliefs, whether it started in us or it came from outside of us, and then we looked for confirmation and found it, and it just settles in there. And we begin to live out ourselves. And people think, well, how can you be successful and have a limiting belief? Like, I mean, how can you, have accomplished all these things? I say, man, the most successful people in the world still have a limiting belief. They just figured out a way to get around it.
Right.
That's all it is. They just figured out a way to work around it. And this is where people get like a chip on their shoulder, right? I mean, you look at Tom Brady, right? He's still talking about being drafted in the 6th round, like 7 Super Bowl championships. And when he still talks about, I was drafted in the 6th round, like you can see this guy is ticked off, right? He's got a chip on his shoulder.
Yeah.
But what I like to say is if you're not careful, that chip on your shoulder will literally become the lid on your life, right? And it will get you around enough, but at some point, the success that chip will bring it does not last a lifetime.
Yeah.
And it really creates a lid on your life.
That's so interesting. I'm thinking of a few examples. So the other day, Jenaye said, hey, our assistant reached out to me because she asked you for a decision and you never made one. So now she's asking me because she needs to know the decision. So you need to give immediate decisions. And I was like, oh, this is one of my, I was like, I don't know what's going on in me that when it's a decision where I'm not sure, I just don't decide.
Yeah.
And what that costs other people. And I thought, I got to reverse engineer. You're talking about reverse engineering. Like, why didn't I just give the decision? In fact, I was at a hotel and I asked a lady for a later checkout. And she goes, well, you're this status of membership, so your checkout would be this time. And then she handed me my room key and said, thanks. I was like, but you didn't give me an answer. Like, and I think what bothered me about what she did is because I see myself do that, you know? And so for me, it was like, it's things like that where that's a limit in my life that I have to reverse engineer. I've had to put other people around me, you know, to reinforce decisions. I had to make a decision last night where I thought, I don't know what to do. And my tendency was to ask 100 different people and get all their opinions, but I thought, I just have to make this decision.
Yeah.
You know, and so I think what you're saying is like, there's a reason, you know, underneath of that. And so I was thinking about parenting, and we were cleaning one day, and I had one kid that whenever it was time to clean up, she just lost it. And I think she thought by throwing a fit and being emotional, she'd get out of it. And I was a tired dad that day, and I said, oh, you're the worst. And I meant you're the worst at cleaning up.
Yeah.
And I walked away, I came back and apologized for it, and she immediately started crying. And she said, you said I'm the worst. And I thought, she's not offended at what I said. She already has a developing core belief that I affirmed. Yeah. And I need to now work to undo that, and I need to insert some truth, you know? So I'm just thinking the ways that this forms. I've been reading a little about attachment theory. Okay. Too, and so much of this is around the core beliefs that we have. Absolutely. You know, when we're younger, when we're kids. Yeah, 100%, you know? And those are the things that, you know, that they really stick with us, you know? And I mean, so one of the things that I do right off the bat is I have all my clients tell me their life story. It's our first session every time. I have them tell me from beginning, as far as they want to go back. I don't, you know, whatever they want to tell me, but I say the more you tell me, the better it is going to be for me. You know, because I can connect some dots even from their stories and just kind of figuring some things out, you know. And so, you know, the interesting thing is that, man, I've had clients cry just telling me their story and saying, I've never told anybody these things before. I didn't know, you know, like it can get really emotional when you start to realize, like, and really what they're doing is they're just having a moment of awareness of like, man, I didn't realize how much, what do we call it, trauma, even little T trauma, right? We're not even talking like big T trauma. Just, I didn't realize like how these things have stacked, and like, man, there's a lot there. There's a lot to unpack. And, you know, and I think that, that is the way that it happens, man. Just those types of, you know, of conversations. So we just have to be very intentional, you know, and then understanding we're going to make the mistakes, right? But then we come back and we correct the mistakes, and then we speak back into the truth, if you would. Well, and I think if you look at your life and say, what were my traumatic moments? Sometimes you can find that common thread because they all go back to the same theme. Absolutely. And they might have affected you because, I'm not saying all of them, but if there's a string, they might have affected you because they reinforced that question you had about yourself, you know, or that core belief. So there's people that deal with this. There's people that try to pray it away. There's people that are like, well, I'm saved and I have the mind of Christ. Why haven't I changed? How do you get people to take ownership? There's other people who just decide they're going to be what they are and who they are. And how do you help people? I don't know if that's the right question. Yeah. How important is ownership? Yeah. Oh, it's everything, you know, for the person that says, you know, to your point of,
this is just kind of the way it is. This is kind of the way that I like it. Right? There's nothing we can do. At that moment, it's like, there's nothing going to help that person because they are stuck by choice, right?
I heard a counselor say, even people that get a lot of counseling, most people don't change.
Yes.
And I don't know if it's an ownership problem or what it is. I just thought that was a really interesting statement.
No, and I've had Des and I think we talked about this when we were on the podcast a couple of years ago, but we've been in counseling our entire marriage. We go every month we go to counseling. And so we have a counselor. I have a counselor, and a coach. And so I have two people in my life that are helping me in this thing. And both of them have always said, man, you just take action on these things, because I'm always bringing back there. And they always most people don't do that. And I'm like, wait, what do you mean most people don't? If you're giving me the information, I'm going to take action on it,
Right.
And so I think to your point right there is man, that it is uncommon for that to happen. I'll say this, and one of the things that was a pleasant surprise to me is when I got into this corporate space, started working with these really high level leaders, right? These are guys, managing $50 million budgets and big teams and a lot of responsibilities. And when I would mention a book, a principle out of a book or a story out of a book, and I would get on the call the next month, they had read the whole book. And I was like, well, that was it. I can't believe that guy did that. And then I was with the next guy. I would just say, man, that's a good book. You should probably think about reading. Next call, that guy read the whole book, right? That happened over and over. And I was like, man, I know I would stand up in front of our church and be like, hey, you need to read this book. I couldn't get anybody to read a book,
Yeah.
And so it's and I think, and I'm saying that because of your point, because I think that sometimes people are like, well, I'm just going to, keep praying through. I'm going to keep going to the altar. I'm going to keep, and look, I believe in all of that, man. I believe in prayer. I believe in spiritual breakthrough. I believe in being anointed with oil. I believe in every scriptural thing you can throw out there. But I also understand that there is some ownership and responsibility that we have to take for our thoughts, for our inner life, right? For these kinds of things. That's why Paul in Philippians says you have to fix your thoughts on these things, because he didn't say just pray on Sunday and your thoughts will follow this way, right? He says you have to intentionally put your mind on these things. And so it's that's the ownership, that's the responsibility that I have to take. And so, for those people who, man, just want to pray, just want that boom, that immediate breakthrough, miraculous breakthrough. It's man, let's pray, what's the say? Let's pray like it's up to God, and then work like it's up to us, right? And let's live in that combination right there. But yeah, there's so much great content out there, so many things that can really help you, begin to change the way that you think.
Right. I was thinking of Romans 12. I was reading this the other day. It says, therefore, I urge you, brothers and sisters, in view of God's mercy, to offer your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God. This is your true and proper worship. Don't conform to the pattern of this world. So stewardship.
Yeah.
Can't just pray yourself into it.
That's right.
But be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is.
Yes.
His good, pleasing, and perfect will. So if you reverse engineer that, it's to know God's good, pleasing, and perfect will, you need to have a transformed mind.
Yeah.
And I believe in prayer. I believe in all those things. I think God can change things in a moment. I also think he gives us and allows us to go through things in life that goes, you're going to steward what's inside of you.
Yeah.
You're going to steward the thoughts that you're thinking. And there's a process to it that builds character.
Yes.
In us, if we want to know what God's actual will is for our lives.
Yes. Yeah. And here's a thought for you. It's a little bit, it's on topic, but kind of a branch here. And, one of the things that I thought about, growing up, right, in the faith and in the church, the stories that we heard were all of the miracle, instantaneous stories. This person came in, they were an alcoholic, right? They came to the altar, God touched them, they never drank again. Like, I thought, wow, that's the way it happens, right? Like, I'm 15, 16, 17, and I'm starting to think, like, well, that's what God does. He just sets them free, and then they live free. And then you start to really realize, like, oh, that happens for 0.1% of all people who do that, right? It's like, oh, no, everybody else, they go through a rehab process. They go through a program. Right? It's like, oh, okay. And then it would be in... You just take that alcohol and put it in any other form. It's like, boom, these are the miracles that we hear. These are the things. And it's like, oh, no, but the rest of the 99%, they went to counseling for, they worked through, they did deep, intense. And sometimes I think that, wow, the stories are great. I think it's awesome. It's a great celebration, right? Like, we love to celebrate. Look what God did, and God can. But I think that it also can have like this reverse effect sometimes too, as people think that that's the way that God does it, and that God doesn't work through the program, or God doesn't work through the counselor, or God doesn't work through the mentor, or God doesn't work through time, right? And we can set ourselves up for a little bit of a disappointment, And so I just, just say to everybody that's listening, it's like, man, you partner with God through a process. That doesn't make the miracle any less significant. It doesn't make the breakthrough any less significant. It doesn't make the result any less godly, because God takes you through the process of healing, the process of restoration, the process of figuring it out, right? And so I find great comfort in knowing that, God can do it in a moment. Like, let's pray. Absolutely, because I would love that. But then let's also have the understanding that we can partner with God, and man, that's just as holy. It's just as holy, and to go on that journey.
Yeah, I feel like, I got really involved in a very charismatic movement at the end of college. It wasn't even a movement. It was just a little like group that I started hanging out with. And I got super disenchanted, really with my faith, because there was almost this narrative that God just touches and takes away everything. And that was probably true. Like, I've received personal healing, but out of the whole course of my life, that's a small percentage of everything I've had to overcome and change and partner with God on.
Right.
And it can be discouraging, even if we preach a gospel that is, God will just touch you every time, and there's nothing in our lives that we have to take up our cross and follow him, or surrender or struggle.
Yes. And I think it's a trap for us as preachers, because the miracle gets the hallelujah, amen shout. Right? But if you tell people, hey, it's going to be a 10-year struggle.
Yeah, you're going to suffer.
You're going to have to really wake up and be committed and work and show up, and like, it's like, oh, and there's a temptation like, I want the amen, and I want people to know that God can, and yes. But it's like, but there's that other side of that, and I think that we can balance that tension as communicators, right? Of what God can do, and we're going to pray and believe that God will heal your body, that God will heal your marriage, that God will, yes, we are going to pray for that breakthrough prayer. But then we also have this understanding that that's not the only way that God brings us into healing and restoration. And so we're going to be open to that journey as well.
Right.
And so I think that we can steward that as preachers and as ministers, for people, that are in our churches.
Yeah. So talk to me more about the rewiring of why mindset has to come before behavior. And when you do this, so you have a limiting belief and you do some work on it, you start to reshape it. I think you called it building on a promise that gets you through the mountain rather than around it.
Yeah.
How does that begin to happen in people's lives, or what does that look like? I just know there's people listening who are thinking, I definitely have a limiting belief. I've been trying to navigate my life. Where do I start? Like, what practically can I do outside of getting a coach right now, to find my way through this?
Yep. No, it's very good. So that limiting belief has a soundtrack, right? That soundtrack's been playing in your head, right? Whenever you get into a situation like that, you are not, right? Whatever. Are you always blank, right? You always screw this up. You always miss the opportunity. You always are overlooked. You are all, right? That's that soundtrack. And so what we want to do is we identify that, and then we find like, wait a minute, that's not actually true. So what we have to begin to do is tell ourselves what actually is true, right? And we go through the process of saying a declaration, right? I think that's the most powerful thing that you can do. It's part of my story. It's part of Destiny's story. Desi may have even shared it here last time, but like, man, that was in college. It was the thing that really transformed her life, right? It just really helped her overcome anxiety, depression, these things that she was really, really battling with. And I just wrote a note card on 2 note cards, man. I just wrote these biblically based declarations, man, just truth in the Word of God. And she put them up on her mirror. She said them every morning. She said them every afternoon. She said them every night. And if she was sitting here, she would tell you, that's the thing that changed my life. Wow. There was a moment where I had this awareness and revelation, and I said, God, I need help. But it was the daily declaration that began to change the narrative. It began to change the story. And it begins to change the way she sees herself to get in alignment with what she actually does believe is true, right? And so I think for anybody that's listening, and then, the temptation is to go, yeah, but I mean, really, like you just say it, like really, this would be my thing. Do it every morning, every night for 1 year and come back and talk to me. This is what I tell everybody. It's like, yeah, that sounds good, but no, if you do it every morning and every night, come back and see me in a year after you've done that. And I promise you, it's a guarantee. Yeah. You will not be the same. You will be transformed because it's the truth. And then we just understand the beauty of God, like the genius of God. Psychology and neuroscience right now, all they are doing is proving that God's word is amazing. God knows how we were wired. And he just go into the Old Testament, right? Man, teach your kids when you wake up, when you go to bed. It's just the declaration of truth, man. They say these same prayers all the time. What are they doing? They're literally wiring their brain to believe in this way. It's the repetition. There's nothing like repetition. As a coach, there is nothing like repetition. It's the same drills every day. That's all it is. Yeah. You go to the best athletes in the world. One of the greatest stories, Kobe Bryant, right? In his legendary 4 a.m. workouts, right? He does the same workout. He didn't do anything that the Bismarck middle school team basketball team is not doing. He's doing the same drills that they are doing, right? And that's why he says, people don't know why I'm the best in the world, because I never get bored with the basics. That was his thing. It's like, man, I don't ever get bored with doing these little things. And so it's these fundamental things that we just continue to do that really create that change. So it's like, man, it's not rocket science. It's not a special formula. It's not the next thing. No, it's like, man, no, just doing these little things. And when you do that and you have that repetition of that declaration every day, do you see a change in a week? Probably not. You see a change in, 10 days? Probably not. But I promise you, you go 6 months, you go 12 months, you're going to start to see a change in your life because it starts to rewire your brain. And you get into the neuroscience and, your neuroplasticity and all the things. It's like, it's literally what is happening in your brain. Your brain is literally rewiring itself because you're saying, we're not going to think this way anymore. We're going to begin to think this way, and then realizing that since you've thought that way for so long, you're going to go back and think that way again. Yeah. Like it's going to go back. But that's the red flag, right? That's the alarm, right? When I think of that way, I got to change that. And now I say my declaration. All your declaration in the morning is giving yourself something to say in that moment when you feel it. You say it in the morning and nighttime, but what it is really there for is on Tuesday afternoon. Yeah. When you spill the coffee in the break room and you think, God, this is, and you catch yourself, wait a minute, that's not what I've been saying for the last 27 mornings. And now right then I say, that is not who I am. This is who I am. Yep. That's the PowerPoint, right? That's the power play, is that it's not just about a morning routine or a nighttime routine. It's that I have something to say in the moment when that thought goes off track. Yeah.
Yeah, there's no controversy around saying, gosh, I'm so stupid, or gosh, I'm such an idiot, or gosh, I'm clumsy, or I can't make any good decisions, or nobody wants to be with me. Like, you say those things and it often goes unchallenged. But
Yes.
yet you're presenting this idea of how about you make a declaration every day of maybe what is only 5% true in your life, but you want to be 100% true later.
Yes.
And people question it or think, that doesn't feel right. But it's just funny how prone we are to like put ourselves down or to reiterate false truths.
Absolutely.
Over our life. And I think what you're saying is, no, declare the truth.
Yes.
And what is true. In the Bible, it says whatever is noble and just and right and pure, like fix your thoughts. And so fixing isn't just dodging, throwing your mind that direction every once in a while. It's memorizing, it's declaring, it's saying what you believe true. And now, like you said, the science proven that it changes the way you think.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you think this is the difference between people who, I had a question in here for you about operating in the faith environment and now, in the coaching environment? Like, what separates
the faith environment has the greatest advantage because God has already told us who we can be.
Yeah.
That's the greatest advantage. We've already been given an image for our future, that we can be the salt and the light. It's already there.
Yeah.
God's already said that's who you can be.
The joy of the Lord can be your strength.
You can have love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, all the fruit of the Spirit. You can't have all of that. Like, God's already given us a picture of a future self. The faith space is the easiest space to change because God has already declared for us, this is who you can be.
You don't need to go to ChatGPT and say, give me a positive declaration. You can grab truths right out of Scripture.
And it gives me, a vision for my future.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what I just say, is your vision is just your mental picture of what the future can or will look like. God has already given us that.
Yeah. Right.
You can be whole and healed and strong and full of joy. And I mean, Jesus says, my peace I've given to you. Well, that's perfect peace, man. Jesus said, my joy I've given to you. Well, there you go. That's what is possible.
Yeah.
That's what's possible in our future. So I want to speak towards that. That's what I want to begin to speak to become that. God's already given. It's tougher out there in the world because there is no vision that's been given. You have to create that picture of who you believe you can be. For us, God has already told us. Now we just have to believe that God is not a liar.
Yeah.
That God is true. That I really can be what God said I could be. That's easier to get there. And so I think when you talk the faith space versus the corporate space, man, we have the ultimate advantage because God has already given us the vision for our future,
right? And
all the truth that we need to actually get there,
right?
And so, I think that. But now let me turn the tide on that, because back to my story about the corporate, the guy reading the book, because I tell the story or whatever, right? And he reads the whole book and gives me, this was my takeaways, and he's got all the things because he has nothing else. If he doesn't take action, nothing changes. Where for us, we're like, well, God can do whatever he wants. There's always a chance for a miracle. God can show up. He works in mysterious ways, right? We can have all of these other things there. And that's the advantage for the corporate space.
Yeah.
Is because they don't have any miracle. They don't have the chance.
It depends on them.
It depends on them.
Yeah.
And so they are going to read the book. They are going to take the class. They're going to do it. And therefore, if we just go, man, we have both. Right? We have this clear picture that God has given us of who we can be, and we can do the work. And if we do the work, man, wow, we can really be an unstoppable force in the earth.
Yeah. I can't help but translate it too into how you treat others. The power of life and death being on your tongue. And are you choosing to, in your kids or your spouse or your friends or your employees, are you calling out the things you want to change about them? Or are you being a voice of that truth of what they could become and who you see them to be? And I think that really separates even bosses and, leaders, is What are you, when you're opening your mouth to speak about other people, are you coming alongside everything you're talking about and even calling out? That's what my life was changed. People who looked at me and called me something way greater than I was at the time and saw something way greater. And I think we all need people in our lives like that who start that narrative, even when we haven't thought about, man, who is Christ calling me to be? Or what does the Bible say I can become? Or what plan might God have for my future? And man, thank God for the people who don't just do it for themselves, but they do it for others around them too.
Absolutely. And, here's what I would add to that is to say the people who call you out to become more have gone through the process of becoming more.
Yeah.
They're the people that know that it works, right? And so how much more important is it for us to go through the process of becoming, like we're talking about, growing and developing and transforming, because then I become the type of person who can look at you and say with confidence, Josh, this is what I see in you. This is what you can become, because I know what happened in me, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like, man, there is nothing selfish at all about transforming and changing your life. There is nothing selfish at all about you becoming, a better version of yourself, more like Jesus, whatever we want to say. It's literally going to pave the way for you to help other people.
Yeah.
And it's the genius of God once again. It's like, it's how discipleship works. You become a disciple and then you help other people become disciples. It's like, that's it.
It's amazing how that works.
Yeah.
I remember going through a season in the last 5 years where I felt like, man, I feel like I'm kind of the old guy, like set in my ways. I don't know if I can keep changing. I knew I needed to grow in some areas and I wanted to grow. And I think I had this belief of like, I don't know if I can change. And you know what happened? I started sounding that way to other people about them too. I don't know if people can change. So it's interesting what you allow in your own spirit.
Yes.
And how that can actually change how you're treating people around you too.
Absolutely. Yeah. Because it all, at the end of the day, it all becomes a perspective.
Yeah.
Right. It's that lens, that perspective, the definition. It's the mental view, right? It's the lens that we see through. And I use a definition for perspective that says it's your internal framework that your mind uses to understand, interpret, and respond to the circumstances of life. Right. And so it's like, the lens that I put on for myself is going to be the lens that I have for other people. So I'm going to be understanding, interpreting, and responding to others the same way that I understand, interpret, and respond to myself.
Wow. Yeah.
Right. And so it's like Jesus saying, hey, love your neighbor as you love yourself. There's a connection there. It's like, it's a whole lot easier to love other people when I have loved me. Right. It's a whole lot easier to help you when I have helped myself, right? It's like, that's the way that it works. And so, I really think that there's so much, there's so much to that for sure.
Oh yeah. You can go down a road into marriage too or different relationships. Yes. If you're frustrated with another person, help yourself, grow yourself, and you might change how you're interacting. They might change. And there can be a lot of hope in that. So let me give you one more.
Yeah.
If you had to walk someone through transformation in 3 to 5 steps from where they are to who they're called to be, what might that pathway look like?
Man,
I know we've laid out some of it.
Yeah. No, here's the thing that I would start with is honesty. Honesty with reality, right? I always say that I think that being 100% gut level honest with yourself is the hardest thing you will ever do in your life. I think being honest about your motives, being honest about your deepest fears, being honest about your darkest thoughts, I think that's really, really hard for people just to be honest about that. And so I would say that's where it really has to begin, at this place of honesty with my reality, my internal reality, my external reality. And just that step right there is really hard, because when you do that, then you move into the next state of like an elevated awareness, right? And when you elevate that awareness of like, man, this is what's really going on. When I'm honest about it, I become aware. And this is where I really am. This is what I'm really thinking about. This is what really, this is it, right? Then out of that awareness, I have something then to evaluate. How did I get here? What is this? What does this look like? How does this show up in my life? Why am I holding on to this? What other places have that, right? Like you get into a real evaluation. Then, only then can you begin to move forward. All of that is happening. And like we ain't even done anything, right? Like we got honest, right? That awareness, evaluation, and now we're going to move into some type of application, right? Like we're going to start to do something based off of that. Coming back to just going into really where we started the conversation, people say, man, just tell me what to do, man. Give me the behaviors. Well, if I'm not honest about my reality and what's holding me back, I can give me some behaviors. It's just a matter of time. And the things that are holding me back are going to be holding me back again in 4 months, right? I got to be honest about that, right? Raise that awareness and evaluate, why are these things here? Why am I giving power of that, of that person over me? Why am I hanging on to this thought, this soundtrack, this belief, whatever it is, right? Then we go, okay, what am I going to do? That application, right? Then we get into the application. The application is going to be, I'm going to say my declaration. I'm going to get a counselor. I'm going to find a mentor, right? One of the things that I love to say and challenge people is people feel, because we all feel like so special in our, whether it's in our gift or in our pain, nobody's ever been through this, right? Like nobody has ever, right? And the reality of it is not true.
Yeah.
Right? People have been through what you're going through, and people have made it out. People have overcome. So if somebody else has been where you are and they have overcome, then so can you. So let's find out how they did that, right? Let's read their book, right? If it's somebody that we can't talk to, let's read their book, right? If it's somebody that we can talk to, let's go have coffee with them, right? There are couples in the church who would love to have dinner with a couple that is struggling. There's men and women in the church that would love to have a mentor relationship. You just have to go and seek that out. And when you do, they're going to give you the things that you need to do, right? And you need to begin to, put that into application in your life. And then the last thing I would just say with that process is patience, right? After you do that evaluation, right? If you that awareness, that evaluation, you're honest with yourself, you find some things, you put it into practice, man, you just got to be patient with the process, right? It's not going to be overnight, right? It's like change doesn't happen overnight, but it can happen over time. If you'll just keep showing up and you'll just keep on sticking with that process of change. And it just takes time, and just be patient with it, you know? And I think the seasons are a great example of that, right? I mean, man, when you're in the dead of winter here in North Dakota, man, it's not, nobody's thinking about the fruit, man. It's like it's the survival, right? Yeah. But man, look, and then all of a sudden, he's like, just give it time. Yeah. And man, spring is going to come, and summer is going to come, and then it's going to be harvest time, right? It's like, okay, just give it some time. And it's the same way for us. And so, man, those are some of the key elements in that transformation of just, man, be honest, have some honest evaluation, find some application. What are some things that I can do to begin that process with our declaration we've already talked about, man? Find a book, whatever. Like, I got to get into that, and then just be patient, persevere, just keep on keeping on.
Yeah, and I'm just praying for people that they would have the courage to start.
Yes.
Start the evaluation, deal in reality, rather than just out of emotion or out of I want to change the fruit of this thing, like get it, like go deeper into it, and commit to, I'm going to change this whole root system so that something different flows out of my life. I think that's what you're explaining, just like a deeper work.
Yes.
Rather than just trying to manipulate behavior or do the right things and hopefully things will get better, but not out of the right motivation, and that will fade. I love what you said, that, man, 4 months later, that's not going to be there. But if you can change the belief,
yes,
if you can go a little bit deeper and start from there, is it going to be harder work right away? For sure.
Yep.
But is it going to last longer? Definitely.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
It's good stuff.
Thank you.
Man, thank you for
having me.
Thanks for coaching us all. It's awesome. How can people look up more information about what you're doing?
Man, on social media, Philip Deas, 2 L's, Deas. You can find me there and follow. And
I know you post some motivation and stuff for people.
Yeah. I'm pretty active on there, man. Just giving people things to think about and some tools and some skills to develop. And so just doing everything I can to help people move to their next level.
Yeah. Well, thanks for what you're doing. Thanks mostly for being our friend.
Oh, man. I love it.
I love when you walk in our building
weekend.
and you speak into our people, and so excited that you're here.
Thank you.
We love you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening. If you think this episode would help somebody, share it with them. Let them know about it. I think it's a super helpful episode for people who want to grow. And so share it, subscribe if you're not already, and we'll see you next time.